Welcome everybody to the Run.down. My name is Tyrese. Knicks lose 103-94 to Orlando Magic, who did not have Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner or Jalen Suggs or Mo Wagner. Um, so arguably four of their five best players, and the Knicks weren't able to pull it out. A lot of frustrating things to take away from this game, I would say. A lot of head scratching sequences. And ultimately, the Knicks, and specifically Jalen Brunson, underperformed when the team needed them most. To start with Jalen, 24 points, 8 of 21 from the field, only took 1 3 and he missed it, 8 of 10 from the line. And he fouled out to end the game. So that was not the performance I think they expected from Jalen Brunson, especially given the pedigree of who he is and what he has done for the Knicks in the past. It's not a good game from him. He seemed flustered by the Orlando Magic defense, specifically guys like Anthony Black and Tristan Da Silva covering him. Didn't really seem like he had an answer for it. And it's interesting to note he only took 1 3, he missed it, so maybe that may be something related to the calf. It could be the way they were crowding him top of the key, not letting him score, not letting him get set into the threes, so that could be something to watch. He has been kind of up and down with the three since the calf injury was noted, and it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with Brunson in the future. Do they rest him for maybe a game or two? Does he continue to play through it? It'll be interesting, and hopefully he can rectify his issues soon. But yeah, not a good game from Brunson. Mikal Bridges also had 24 points, 10 of 20 from the field, 1 of 7 from 3, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. I thought he was fine in the mid-range. I didn't really think he was good outside of that. The defense was kind of up and down. Granted, he had to take on more offensive responsibilities, so I think he expected a dip there. There's not a lot to say other than not really a good performance efficiency-wise or on the game. It just kind of felt like Nick really got it going. And in these moments where Cat or Brunson is out, you do expect someone like Mikal Bridges to kind of step up and fill in the way I think he did last week against the Jazz. But again, like the rest of the Knicks, we're not able to have it tonight. Jericho Sims started at center in place of Cat, who was out with the hamstring injury. However, to note, Cat was a game time decision, so he may be ready for Wednesday, but he did not play tonight. Jericho Sims played 29 minutes, 4 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, the block. I thought he played fine. For a third-string center filling in, I thought he played as well as you could have asked him to play. I kind of wish he did a little bit more around the basket. He had a couple of attempts that were just kind of weak and they got stuffed. But, I mean, okay game from him. I think you could probably argue of all the starters, he probably played the best just due to the fact that the expectations were so low and he was able to fill in the way I think a lot of us expected him to fill in. Certainly Tibbs. Yeah, not a lot to take away from Jericho Sims' game. But yeah, like he's a rotation center, not too much that you can complain about in his minutes. Josh Hart, 15 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 5 of 9 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line. I thought offensively he was okay. I thought defensively he was atrocious. Constantly sagging off of men, leaving them open for 3. I thought he needed to give more effort defensively, especially getting over screens. I thought he had some silly lapses in coverage, and it kind of led to open buckets at the rim and from three. I just did not like the way he played defensively, him and OG. I just kind of felt like there was no resistance at the point of attack. I felt that they were bad at closing out over shooters. It was just not a good game defensively for the Knicks, despite the fact that the Magic only scored 103. It just kind of felt like the offense got bad, which means the defense felt even worse. And Knicks, I felt, complained a lot about calls, and I think complained a lot about the referees, and that just kind of felt like that destroyed any hope they had of winning the game. They felt like they were frustrated early, and there was no way for them to recover. The final starter was OG. 4 of 11 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 9 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal and a block. Again, him and Josh Hart just did not perform defensively. I think the way they had to. OG has been up and down. So hopefully this is them kind of like pacing themselves and trying to get back to a better state of health, and maybe that's what they're trying to do. But yeah, this game just did not have a lot of positives to come out of it. The bench is probably the hot topic of the discussion. The bench got 2 minutes tonight. Campaign played 12 minutes. Landry Shamet played 20. Precious Stewart played 22. And I think you could argue Precious Stewart was probably the best bench player. He 10 points, 2 rebounds. And despite that, I just kind of felt like he didn't really give you anything. I mean, good for him. Credit to him for being able to kind of finish around the basket with dunks and putbacks. But just the lack of offense is palpable when you watch him. And yeah, I made my thoughts on Precious Stewart known. I'm okay with him being the lone big, but he had minutes at the 4 today, and they were not positive. Next to Jericho Sims, it just kind of felt like the offense was stuck in mud, and it sucks that he doesn't really offer any shooting equity. So when you're playing double big like that, and Jalen Brunson has to create in the phone booth, it's just not feasible to create good offense. I didn't think there were much positives to take away from it. Landry Shamet, 0-3 from the field. Although the defense was okay, I thought he was active, which is really good to say for him. But again, when you have 0 points, it's kind of hard to be impactful that way. He was the only plus, ironically enough. But yeah, unforgettable game from him. And campaign, 2 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3, 2-2 from the free throw line, 8 points, 2 assists, a rebound, 2 turnovers. Yeah, campaign just did not have a good game. This bench is an issue. I think I've talked about it extensively on my Twitter. I just do not think the Knicks have allocated, as of this moment, the Knicks haven't allocated the resources well, just given the fact that you have 5 centers on the bench, and you only have 4 wings, and 3 of them are in your starting lineup, and your 4th wing is Hakeem Gadier, who is the 4th youngest player in the NBA and is not going to get any playing time, just given the fact that he still needs to learn how to play basketball. I don't think Campaign is giving anything of note. I think he's a good shooter, but the inside the arc play is atrocious, and I don't know how much longer you can live with that. I think Shamet is okay for the most part, but again, he's a minimum player. How much minutes do you really want to give Landry Shamet if he's like your 7th or 8th man? I don't think you're in a good spot if that's your bench unit. And yeah, Precious Stewart is fine as a backup 5, but you kind of feel like you could upgrade especially offensively in that role. So I don't know what the Knicks are going to do as we get closer and closer to the deadline. Rick Robinson has not played a minute. He seems that he'll probably be available closer to February if the timeline is as it stands currently. I just kind of feel like it's time to look in a different direction in regards to him. I don't think the big room is an issue as much as the wing room is an issue. And having a playable fourth wing kind of seems like it would ease a lot of the minutes burden for all these guys. Break the glass on Kolek from Kevin Love X. Thank you for the comment. I think we're getting there. I think it's definitely a conversation to be had. I feel like this is what Tibbs kind of does, where he'll give somebody who's struggling like every chance in order to kind of like earn their way back into more minutes into the rotation. But I do think that maybe by Valentine's Day, Campaign is out of the rotation and Kolek is getting those minutes. Especially if you're just kind of asking Kolek to play the 12 minutes that Brunson is off the court. I think Kolek just does more as a passer. The offense is iffy, but also I do think that Campaign was brought in with the idea of probably being able to give Kolek the role if he was able to show it. I would still like more creation out of the bench unit. I don't think the bench unit really has creation, even with Deuce healthy. I just don't know where you get it from. The Knicks don't really have a lot of salary to play with and a lot of assets to play with as well. So they're going to have to walk the tightrope of trying to manage the second apron concerns for next season while also trying to upgrade for this season. And I do think there's a world if the Knicks just kind of go, we don't really have any options, and they pivot. I don't want to say punt, but they kind of just try to roll with the bench unit, wait for guys to get healthy, and then kind of assess after a postseason run. But yeah, if the Knicks go into the playoffs with this bench healthy, so let's say Deuce, Mitch, and Shamet, with guys like Payne and Precious being situational, I just don't have any faith. I don't have much hope on it. You're hoping for maybe somebody like a minimum guy being available, shaking free, that you could like trade Sims for. But yeah, the bench unit is in dire straits, and they need some sort of jolt in the arm, and I don't know where they're gonna get it from. Cole Anthony outplayed Brunson. Yeah, I thought Cole Anthony had a game. I just don't think you could allow that to happen if you're Jalen Brunson. But credit to the Magic, they played well even when they were shorthanded. When you miss 14 straight threes, it's hard to win basketball games, in my opinion. I agree. The three ball has just been missing from the Knicks for like the last couple of weeks, and I don't know why. I don't know where it's gone, but you're hoping that they can turn it around soon enough. But yeah, the three ball has just not been. It's not been there. Bara El Harry, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but super chat for $5. Thank you so much for the support. Maga Isaac at Never Shade on Friday night, which happens to be January 6th. Not surprised I lost. But needs to get some run spell since who was okay. I was scared about Jonathan Isaac as soon as I saw the calendar date, and my fears were realized because he had 13 and 9 with 2 blocks. He was absolutely destructive defensively, and the fact that he was able to give him some juice offensively was just icing on the shit cake that was this performance from the Knicks. Huck 40 needs to get this one for Sims. I don't really see the point of playing Huck 40. I think he's fine, but I don't think the bigs were much of an issue. I don't think the big room was an issue when they were healthy. Huck 40 right now is the 5th string center, and I don't really see a need to play the 5th string center or the 4th string center. It just kind of seems pretty pointless to me. Not to say that like if it happened I would complain, but I don't really see a world where like playing Hutport has a meaningful impact on the game or changes anything that might be ailing the Knicks currently. I don't think the big room is an issue. Jay and Drew having a banger. You're talking about the Knicks, not a banger. It was not a banger. But we still watch. We support WWE and Netflix. At this point, I'm fine with wiping the bench and maybe keeping Cham in this situational. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just don't know how you do it. There's just not a lot of pivots you can make for the bench. And it sucks because I think the Knicks were probably hoping to be more active in the trade market, especially if they were able to move Mitch instead of Dante. But yeah, it just kind of shows that like the bench has no creation, no real like microwave scoring. There's just nothing. The bench, like a bench, is usually like has a guy or two that's able to like do something at a very high level. Like you look at Cleveland with Karis LeVert. Like Karis LeVert is usually not seen as like an elite depth piece, but he's having a hyper efficient season, and he's kind of been the anchor for that bench unit. Someone like Ty Jerome popped, and he's been giving them good minutes. Sam Merrill, Dean Wade, like those guys who like they kind of like built up throughout the years, who maybe were weaker depth pieces and have now become stronger depth pieces. Same thing with the Celtics and guys like Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. The Knicks don't really have that aside from Deuce McBride, and Deuce McBride comes through his own struggles. He's only 6'1". He's a good, not great shooter, and the finishing has taken a major leap back. So, unfortunately, you're not getting that production from the bench. He hasn't really taken a leap as a ball handler. He's much more of an off-ball guard. So then it becomes you kind of need to squeeze a ball handler into lineups next to him, and he doesn't really give you much there. It's a rough spot to be in. But I will say that I think Schwinn tweeted this out earlier. Like a lot of depth is kind of handled through cycles. I think it's a point that I made on Saturday's pod where I said like they're basically at like year zero of a bench, and it's going to take a while for them to rebuild it. And rebuilding it is going to consist of like taking flyers and on second drafting dudes, like guys who maybe are out of a role on their current teams and maybe like try to trade a second round pick for them the way they kind of did with Cam Reddish in 2021 to hopefully a better extent. But that's what you're kind of looking for, in my opinion, where it's like you're kind of taking flyers on dudes and hoping to get some luck in terms of like minimum contracts and trying to configure the right deals in order to get guys to be contributors on this bench unit, because the starting five, I don't think it's an issue when they're healthy. They're one of the better starting fives in the league. They're a very synergistic starting five. And ideally, you don't want to move Deuce because he makes such little money and he is a rotation player at that price, which is really good for a team trying to skirt the second apron. Someone like Mitchell Robinson, the health is just not guaranteed, so it's kind of hard to fit him into roster plans, even though he is an effective piece. So yeah, it really is just going to be a matter of like having to roll over dudes and having to kind of mix and match and see what you have. Eventually, when guys like Dadier and Kolek are able to kind of catch up and with their development and become contributors, I do think they get their chances. But until then, like you are waiting for that development. You are waiting for those guys to kind of like learn how to play the Tibbs way of basketball, and that'll take a bit. That was a disgusting game. Well, yes, it was. It was just a dogfight defensively, and I feel like the Knicks, for the first 3 quarters, I want to say, were able to at least like hold pace defensively, even if the offense was rough. But as soon as they got to the fourth quarter, the wheels just kind of fell off, and then like they didn't hit a 3 in the second half until the end of the campaign. So it's just a very rough time and a very rough watch. Yeah, it just I wish there was more to talk about, but it was the Knicks kind of got shut down defensively and offensively. They were just not able to get good looks. So you're kind of hoping that guys can become more aggressive Wednesday. You're hoping that guys are able to become more contributors on Wednesday. They play Toronto that got beat by Milwaukee. I think the worst part of this loss probably is the fact that like Orlando had a back-to-back, they had a rest advantage, and they just lost to the Jazz. So to go from getting blown up by the Jazz to losing to the Knicks, just not, or rather beating the Knicks, and you're as the Knicks are losing to that team, it's just not a good spot to be in. So very rough, very unfortunate. Hopeful for a better game. Wednesday against Emmanuel Quickly, who recently returned, and RJ Barrett. But yeah, just not a lot of positives to take out of this game. Kind of feels like we're rehashing a lot of the issues that plague this team currently in terms of like roster construction and the bench and the minutes distribution. So yeah, hopefully a win can kind of break the funk and get us in a better state of mind as a fan base. But that'll be it for me. Thank you guys for all the support, and see you next time. Peace.